Welcome everybody in the name of IRISCC to this fourth session of this webinar series in relation to the research infrastructures comprising IRISCC. As you know, IRISCC aims to integrate climate change related services from 14 different European leading research infrastructures. And today we are going to have a session oriented in oceans. So today we do have the pleasure to have Davide Di Cioccio from the EMBRC, the European Marine Biological Resource Center. And we also have the pleasure to have Dick Schaap from the MARIS, the Marine Information Service from the Netherlands, to talk about SeaDataNet, which is the pan-European infrastructure for ocean and marine data management. As I was in the previous sessions we've been having as well, we're going to be recording the session so that we can post it later on in our YouTube channel. But we will stop the record for the final questions. And in the previous sessions, we've been approaching the speakers to explain us what is their research infrastructure about and how the infrastructure fits in the context of IRISCC. And if they could give us some climate change risks related cases in relation to their infrastructure data or their own infrastructure. So I will not steal more time from you. And I suggest that we could start alphabetically. So I'm going to give the floor to Davide. Davide, whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Berat, for the introduction. Few seconds that I check. My presentation. So thank you for inviting us to this webinar. I'm Davide Di Cioccio from EMBRC, and over the course of this presentation, I will give some overview about what EMBRC is, which are the services and also the partners that are bringing these services in the IRISCC project. And then I will also give the word to two of my colleagues, Pablo Serre of University of Vigo and to Vivi Pitto of the Hellenic Center for Marine Research, because they're developing a more advanced service that will be available in IRISCC, and it is a mesocosm for climate change studies. So it will be also interesting to see which are all the technical details so that it can be seen if it is of how it can be used by the community of researchers interested in IRISCC. So very briefly, what is EMBRC? EMBRC stands for European Marine Biological Resource Center, and it's an European research infrastructure. So it's a distributed organization that is composed of more than 80 partners, all these black dots that you can see in the map. And we are present in 10 European countries. And the mission of EMBRC is to advance fundamental and applied research in marine biology and in marine ecology. And how do we do that? We do that through scientific collaboration as well, but in particular by providing access to services, facilities, and technology platforms dedicated to marine biology. And our community of users is composed by researchers from academic institutions, such as universities and research organizations, but also from private companies. So EMBRC is part of IRISCC, as Benat was already introduced, and not all EMBRC is part of IRISCC, but a good part of them, and 15 partners are participate in IRISCC. So this means that they're available for access, and you can see in this map where all of them are positioned, and also summarized all these different institutes that are available for access in IRISCC. Here in green, I also highlighted some of the partners that are also now developing this mesocosm for climate change studies, but we will see that later on. So in EMBRC, we have a very wide range of services. So there are so many that we have to, let's say, categorize them in some way. So I want to, let's say, guide through all these wide offer of services so that potential application can also be addressed to use these services. And so how can, let's say, help your research go forward. So in EMBRC, we have services for ecosystem access that allow to access marine habitats and their biodiversities, and for sampling or also for in situ studies. And services for ecosystem access are coastal research vessel or scientific diving team that also allow to access particular habitats like natural CO2 vents or also environments that are extreme or acidified, naturally acidified. At EMBRC, we also have marine biological resources, and so here we mean marine organisms that are both kept in culture or also as preserved sample. In terms of culture, we have culture collections that host more than 6,000 strains, and with a biodiversity ranging from cyanobacteria, microalgae, or macroalgae. And in terms of fixed sample, we have also biobanks that where it is possible to access, let's say, layers of different, tissue samples of different organisms, such as mollusk, fishes, or other kind of marine organism. This is the marine biological component, but at our partners, it's also possible to find the experimental facilities. So all those systems that allow to manipulate the environmental variable, also to simulate future scenarios. And so in particular, as experimental facilities at EMBRC, we have mesocosm, both on shore or floating, climate-controlled room, pH stat systems, or also photobioreactors. Within our partners, then there are not only this system to, let's say, to control or to allow experimentation with a biological organism, but also the means to analyze all of them. So we have systems for platforms for molecular biology or omics studies, or also to allow advanced imaging. So here we mean more electronic microscope, but also platform for chemical analysis, such as HPLC or gas chromatography, mass spectrometry. And then all the data generated through these different experiments can also be analyzed through digital tools. So we have also bioinformatic pipelines for different means, but mostly for genomic identification, but also for, let's say, more specific data analysis. In some of our partners, we also have accommodation. So the users, the researchers can also be hosted in marine station itself. So it's not necessarily to book Airbnb, for example, a B&B, sorry. So few words about how to access all this wealth of service. So in IRISCC, it's now open a third call for access. So this means that it's possible to submit an application in order to access basically for free the services that are offered, but also there are also funds for travel and for accommodation. And this third call opened few weeks ago, now the 26th of February, and will close in about 1 month. And yes, in this map, here are represented only EMBRC partners, but of course, IRISCC allows more, way more partners than those that are shown here. But of course, I've been really selfish because I'm talking only about the EMBRC here. And it's very important to keep in mind these two dates because applying to IRISCC, it's very easy. So I summarized in this slide which are the main steps. So first thing to do is to search for the IRISCC website and then click on transnational access. And then in order to apply to EMBRC, we have a service catalog where it's possible to check, to verify, also to find which are the services that are more appropriate to your research. The way to find the EMBRC partners is to play with the filters. So I listed here some suggestions. The easiest thing to do is to go on the proper filter research infrastructure and select EMBRC. But also there is also a field that is a free text field where you can just type marine, and so you will have all the list of EMBRC partners. And as third point that I noted here, it's a warm recommendation is to, so in the service catalog, you will also find the contact of the facility manager. So this is a dedicated person that can be, I mean, can be your contact point that can answer to all the logistical, but also technical information. And it's quite important to assess the, let's say, the feasibility of your experimental plan in advance, because this allows that your proposal has higher chances to be then funded. Of course, all the proposals go through scientific review, but at least, I mean, we can minimize the risk of a proposal getting excluded because a given service is not available in that period. And also, in most of the cases, the facility manager can also help to tailor a little bit better the experimental plan. So yes, with this I have concluded, and I will, of course, I encourage all the researchers in climate change, but in particular ocean acidification or marine studies about climate change to apply. And I would like to, I mean, at this point, I can also give the word to Pablo and then Vivi that can explain a little bit better what this mesocosm for climate change study is. And Pablo, I can advance the slides for you.
Okay, thank you, Davide. Yes, I am Pablo Soler from the University of Vigo, and I am working with Vivi and Mena from HCMR, and also with Joanna Norco from the University of Helsinki, Joao Sosa from CCMR, and also with Niels van Steen from and other colleagues from the Natural Sciences Institute in Belgium, who are in creating a new service that is being delivered through EMBRC, and it is part of what is called Demonstrator 4. Can you pass to the next slide, please, Davide? And I will explain a bit about Demonstrator 4, and then I will give the floor quickly to Vivi and Mena to explain what are our next plans for this experimental service. Demo 4 is a new service that tries to cope with a risk that is not directly connected, but it is indirectly connected to climate change. It is the risk that mitigation technologies can interact with ecosystem services in the ocean. And then this is a risk that we need to evaluate, because we know that CO2 removal will be likely necessary. There are many companies racing for developing suitable technologies for this. There are institutions trying to regulate this new industrial undertaking. And there are the academy trying to cope with these uncertainties, both in terms of efficiency and efficacy of these industrial undertakings, but also for the risks that they put to the marine environment. So in this regard, there are two needs that we are trying to combine with this service. On the one hand, we need to do experimentation at the scale of the ecosystem, and this is why we are working with a mesocosm approach in this experimental service. And on the other hand, we need to cope with the risk. I mean, CO2 removal is at least a regional or a global scale process. So we need to cope with risks in different environments, and we are pretty sure that the risk will be different in different ecosystems. there will probably not be the same in ultra-oligotrophic systems dominated by the small phytoplankton and with very little nutrients, compared to highly dynamic, very contrasting upwelling systems where upwelling creates strong blooms that decay very rapidly and change very rapidly. We cannot expect that the response will be the same, and we need to be sure that when we assess the response of different ecosystems, we do it in a comparable manner. So we can give an overview of the encompassing risk to the whole coastal systems in Europe. No? And this is the idea. To do this, we have created this service, in an integrated service that, can you pass to the next slide? Thank you. With 4 mesocoast facilities in Europe that belong to EMBRC, in the Baltic Sea, in the coastal upwelling system in Vigo, in northwestern Spain, a coastal lagoon in the south of Portugal, and the ultra-oligotrophic Mediterranean Sea in Crete. So we have a wide range of very distinct coastal ecosystems, and what we need is to coordinate a common procedure, a common experimental procedures, and we are doing so by developing standard operating procedures through shared experimentation, and to create a common pipeline for data management that secures that the results from these different experiments are put together and and are available for the community to make the best use of them. And this is also being coordinated through natural sciences in Belgium. So we are creating this system that goes from the common standard, common procedures for experimentation to common use of data through standard data management plans and operating procedures that are going to be made public. So to do this, next slide, please, Davide. To do this, we thought that the best option was to actually do some work together, to create experiments that we share, so we can share the protocols and methods and everything, and then we can create data that can go into this data management plan pipeline, and then this is what we are working together. So we have already carried out two experiments, one in the Baltic Sea, one in Vigo in 25. We are planning a new experiment in Vigo in June this year, but this is already closed for transnational access because the evaluation process is too long to reach it in June. And these data are being currently worked by the group. But there is another experiment that will take place in Crete in September, and this is actually open to transnational access. And this is what Vivi and Mena will present. I give the floor to them because this is the more relevant because it is the only one that is in fact open to the possibility that some users can apply for it. Just to mention, to give you a few numbers, in the first 2 experiments in Vigo, we had 6 and 7 transnational access awarded. And in the second one, in the one that we are going to have in June, we have also accesses through AquaServe. There are, I think, three researchers that are coming with the AquaServe transnational access, so not only open through IRISCC. And now I give the floor to Vivian Mena and to explain the forthcoming experiment that we have in the agenda. Thank you.
Hello, from Crete. My name is Vivi Pita. I am a biologist and a research director at HCMR. So today I will talk to you about transnational access at HCMR. Next slide, please. Yeah, okay. These are some general information. Transnational access at HCMR in Crete. This is the catalog number of our facility for IRISCC and the EMBRC. And it is in the frame of the third call for access, which is open at the moment with deadline 26th of April. Next slide, please. So, when will this take place? It is mid-September to 4th of October this year, and it will be in Crete. Next slide, please. So, let me talk you now a little bit about our facility. It is called Creta Cosmos. You see it in this picture. It comprises two big, large volume concrete pools in which the mesocosms are incubated. You see there is one pool of 150 cubic meters and one of 350 cubic meters. So have the possibility to do also experiments with warming, if we like. So climate change studies. This is a facility operating since 2009. It was a member of 3 European and 1 national networks of research infrastructures, and of course of 1 EU research infrastructure, ERIC, which is EMBRC. Up to now, in these 17 years, 17 experiments have been conducted. More than 300 participants were welcomed in Crete. We provided more than 2,000 TA, the transnational access days, and the facility supported 7 PhDs up to now, 4 MSCs, and up to now, more than 40 publications have appeared, and many others are in different stages of writing and submission, etc. What is really interesting about this facility comes from the place of Crete. Crete is situated at the Eastern Mediterranean. In other words, at the lower end of the productivity gradient, which means that it is Creta Cosmos is the only facility in the world where people can work with really oligotrophic conditions. This is the particular characteristic of our facility. Next slide, please. So, the experiment which we are planning to do this coming September and October, as I mentioned before, the goal of this experiment is to investigate how nutrient addition can enhance phytoplankton blooms and therefore induce an increase in biomass, phytoplankton biomass, supporting multiple ecosystem services, including biological carbon dioxide removal, mitigation exploitation of aquaculture, derived nutrient waste, and production of biomass for biotechnological applications. So this is an experiment, a combined experiment with multiple purposes. You will see them in the next slide, please. So let me explain you a bit about the experimental design of this experiment to which we provide access. There will be 12 pelagic mesocosms of 3 cubic meters each, incubated in one of the 2 pools I showed you, the smaller one of 150 cubic meters, and we will have 4 triplicated treatments, meaning 12 mesocosms. So there will be, as always, a control. This means 3 mesocosms with no treatment. So this will represent the ambient conditions of the sea. There will be an alkalinization treatment as a chemical carbon removal strategy reference, and this is the relation with the demonstrator 4 that Pablo talked before. The third treatment will be a treatment where nutrients will be added, simulating the situation of a fish farm to induce phytoplankton growth. And finally, we will have a treatment with nutrient addition, but in which we will exclude the zooplankton, so the larger predators, to promote the bloom under reduced grazing pressure. Up to now, we have planned to measure these following the variables you see here, from pH, alkalinity, and dissolved inorganic carbon to study the carbonate system, because we will have this alkalinization treatment. And then comes all the basic variables from starting from the nutrients concentration, the chlorophyll as fractionated and total, the pigments, the bacterial and viral productions. We will study all groups of all plankton groups as for abundance and diversity, starting from viruses up to zooplankton. We will study gross photosynthesis, community respiration, and net community production, zooplankton abundance and diversity, and we will also study the metagenomes, the metatranscriptomes, and the viromes, as well as the metabolomics. So you see that there is already a complete data set of a complete set of variables. We have already advertised this experiment, and we have already received a lot of the intention of a lot of colleagues that want to participate and will submit for transnational access to IRISCC. But of course, this is actually the use and the beauty of a mesocosm experiment. Lots of things can be examined. So whatever else somebody would think or wish to study, we are open to discussion, to accommodate, and to welcome in Crete. So next slide, please. Okay, so this is the recapitulation, Davide. The title, the duration, the location, and this is my email for people that would like to contact us for further information and the possibility to come and work with us in Crete next coming autumn. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much to all of you for this complete introduction to your research infrastructure and the different experiments related to the ocean CO2 removal approaches. Thank you also, Davide, for advertising the third call in IRISCC. We are going to actually pass then the link in the chat to the catalog of services. If you're not attending this live and you're in YouTube, please go and check in our website. We do have more than 80 different facilities and more than 100 services. So I really encourage, if you have some scientific questions that you would like to explore, this might be your chance to get a sponsor-free pass to different services if you find something appropriate for your research in the catalog. And it doesn't have to be only from one research infrastructure. In fact, it really depends on your research question. You could, for example, combine CRIT with other facility or different services that they don't really need to be only about natural science services. We also have in the catalog social sciences, political sciences services. So there is a lot of possibilities in there. I really encourage you to have a look to the catalog of services. I will stop talking and I'm going to thank you again, and I'm going to pass the floor to Dick. Dick, whenever you the floor is yours.
Okay. I'll try to share my screen. It's coming. Yeah, it's coming. Let's go full screen. Yeah, can you see it?
We can see it, but so far it's not in full screen. Now it is in full screen. All good.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
a little bit slow.
Yeah.
Okay. No, this is something completely different, I would say, because we don't have physical locations, but we are all more in the, let's say, digital world. This is about SeaDataNet, which is a pan-European infrastructure for marine and ocean data management. And I also want to give the relations with EMBRC, Blue Cloud, and the European Open Science Cloud. Also because it has relevance for the IRISCC work that we do. Now, first of all, you're all aware, let's say there's a lot of data being collected in many ways. We did one time a study which brought out that we spent about 1.4 billion euro a year in Europe just to collect data by different means. And about 1 billion is related to in situ data, while the other part is more the remote sensing by satellites and other means. We also are working more and more on what we call the marine knowledge chain, the value chain. So we go from data. We started, in fact, with metadata, and then we went to data, and then we went to data products, and now more and more also we want to go to knowledge. And that's a little bit illustrated in this pyramid. And that's something that in my story, I will keep this as a line, a red line, because we go from one system to another system to another system, in fact, in the same way. First of all, we collect a lot of data, and I told you, more than 1 billion a year. And of course, to be able to manage that data, has been done already a lot to create an infrastructure in Europe for managing the data. There are still some people that say all the data management is chaotic, but I think they never tried a computer to find something, because there are many systems in Europe, and they are working together, closely together. In this picture, you see on the left, you see the diagram. First of all, at the bottom, you see the people that are collecting data, and those are thousands of different organizations. And then in the middle, we have so-called major aggregators. And in this case, it's SeaDataNet, which is the pan-European network for the national oceanographic data centers. Then there's EMBRC, which is an EU-funded initiative. And there is Copernicus Marine Service, which is also an EU-funded initiative. And then on the top of the diagram, let's say you see the different users, and the users could be intermediate users. That could be consultants, could be researchers, whatever. And they create value and further results, which are then going to end users. And those end users can, of course, be in the whole society. Now, I want to zoom in on SeaDataNet. SeaDataNet is started already a long time ago. In fact, we were in the third framework. We already were working on this, because there was a special program then, the Marine Science Technology Program. And it was has been initiated by the European National Oceanographic Data Centers. And those data centers, they are mostly hosted by marine research institutes, the major ones. And they work together with several institutes in their country, trying to bring data together, have a standardization, and also have a long-term stewardship for the data. So what we do in SeaDataNet, we said we want to provide harmonized discovery and access to all these data sets from all these European institutions, while the scope is not only European waters, but also could be global, because a lot of the research, of course, they do also global research. We are using we are applying fair standards, but when we started, it was, let's say, the 80s and the 90s, there were no, the word fair was not there yet, but I think we were already in the following those principles. And we also developed a lot of tools and services to be able to apply those standards. And we also maintain several directories which give overview and access to certain to data, but also to data products and projects. And more or less we also have a lot of vocabularies which are being used very widely, not only in Europe but also in global, to mark up data and metadata to get a standardized and interoperable data and metadata. Also, SeaData set up an ASBL since 2019, so we have now a legal entity. We are maintaining several European directory services, and here you see a couple where we have one for cruises, all the seagoing research. There are more than 60,000 cruises here described. There are organizations who are one way or the other involved in data or data products or research. Then we have projects, we have observatories. And a key one is what we call the CDI, which is the Common Data Index. And there you can discover and access individual data sets that are all produced during these activities that you see around it. So there's a linked data model. Though we apply and we maintain SeaDataNet standards, and that means that we have a number of metadata formats that are based upon the ISO format. But they are, it's a profile, so we made them fit for marine activities. And also we have standard data exchange formats, which is an ASCII format, ODV, and also NetCDF, which is a gridded format. And they are fully supported, both of them, let's say, by the controlled vocabularies. And in the meantime, the controlled vocabularies is now more than 100,000 terms in 110 lists. And they also have an international governance. And these terms, they can be, let's say, parameters, but can also be stations, can be ships, can be platforms, can be all kinds of things which are relevant when you describe in a fair way your metadata and data. Also, here's some more about this CDI, the Common Data Index. So that's a very important metadata format for us. That it works also with schemas, and it's fully supported by these vocabularies, but also supported by the other ones, by these European directories, because organizations play a role, data sets larger, the cruises can play a role, and so on. If you look at the data formats over time, we have these standards, there's ODV and NetCDF, but at the same time, you can have different flavors depending on what type of data we need to handle. And that means that we are working together with a lot of institutes, but also with, let's say, the major projects in Europe to be able to handle the different types of data. And this overview gives you an idea about that. Then we go to this central service, the CDI, Data Discovery and Access Service. That was set up, we started this in about the year 2005, but over time, let's say, there were all the time innovations, also technical innovations. The principle is that the data centers, all the nodes in the system, there are more than 150 nodes, they all maintain their own data management because they are sitting on top of the data, they are interacting with the data providers and data observers. And they then, let's say, apply from their holdings, they make a common metadata format and a common data format. And that is shared, let's say, with the central system, the SeaDataNet system, which you see in the top of the diagram. While on the bottom, you see, let's say, a data center, and we have more than 100 of those. And then, let's say, there is a cloud system where we maintain all the open data, because we have about 90% is open data, and that's in a cloud and centralized for fast delivery. While we also have restricted data, and those data sets, they remain at the data centers, but you can request access for those. And if you have a good motive, let's say, you can get access. Then we have, on the left, you see that we have both a user interface, but we also have machine-to-machine services, and that's done by an API and also by Sparkle. This is the present holdings. So we have data, more than 3 million data entries. And the data entry could be a CTD. It could also be a time series of sea level, let's say for a month or for a year. It could be a water sample and with the nutrients and let's say, contaminants. It could also be marine litter observations. So there are really many types of data that these are 3.2 profiles, you could say, entries. And they're also quite multidisciplinary. We have physics, chemistry, biology, geology, bathymetry. And they are provided right now by more than 1,000 data originators. I hope you don't hear banging, because somehow my neighbor decided to do some work on the house today. Sorry. Now then we look at a very interesting development for us as SeaDataNet, because SeaData is a research infrastructure, was in fact the initiation by DG Mare of the EU for EMBRC. And EMBRC has become the EU in situ data service because it's fully funded by the EU. And let's say it's a very sustained operation. And that means that a lot of research infrastructures are now working together with EMBRC to make sure that they get the good data. And from this data, the EMBRC groups make products and services which support blue economy, blue environment, and also the marine knowledge. And SeaDataNet from the start was one of the first ones, let's say, to work with EMBRC. And that means that we are the backbone for EMBRC chemistry, EMBRC bathymetry, and also partly for EMBRC physics. EMBRC itself has several thematic domains. So bathymetry, human activities, physics, geology, seabed habitat, chemistry, biology. And all these, they make products based upon all this data that is supplied. And these products, they are all available through one common portal. And that common portal has a map viewer, and it has a common catalog. In this process, we follow the principle that track and trace, so fairness. And that means that for every product, you can always find the metadata or references to which data was used for those products. Here are two examples of products, EMBRC products. One is the EMBRC bathymetry, the digital terrain model. That's the best model for European seas. It's 16 times higher resolution than JEPCO. And it's based upon presently about 43,000 survey data sets and that we have collected from all the hydrographic institutes in Europe, but also from research institutes. And this all brought together in the SeaDataNet CDI system. So you see some illustrations here on the left. We also work on EMBRC chemistry. And EMBRC chemistry, it looks at, let's say, data collections, makes validated data collections for eutrophication, for contaminants, for marine litter. And right now, it's based upon more than 1.3 million chemistry data sets. And again, these are all managed in the SeaDataNet system. So the chemistry thematic, they use the data, in fact, the harvest from this system to maintain the validated collections, which are really very fair and they're interoperable and reusable. And they're being used by DG Environment, by EEA, by JRC, the regional sea conventions, etc. Everybody who's really interested in chemistry and the state of the seas. Now then we go higher up in the knowledge chain, and that meant that we started a new project for open science, and that's part of the European Open Science Cloud. So we saw an opening in that program, in this initiative, say, hey, we can do something as SeaData to work with this. And this is something that we work together with Copernicus people and also with other EMBRC people. And this is we started about 6 years ago with this project, with a pilot project. It was very successful. Then it was succeeded by the Blue Cloud 226 project that we are now finalizing very soon. And it also became so-called flagship projects for the mission Ocean. And I want to tell a little bit more about this because it's very interesting to see how you can go to this knowledge chain, but also adopting new technologies, cloud in particular, and virtual research. Now, the overarching concept for Blue Cloud is that we have on the lower side, we have the discovery and access, and that has to be very harmonious and say the way that all the data can be found and can be used in standards. On the left, you see that we are using those standards from OTC, ISO, vocabularies, W3C, and those are the container standards. And of course, we have marine profiles for this. And then on the top, you have these added value services by working in a virtual research environment with clouds, with large computing, with access to a lot of data, and also having access to algorithms and being able to develop those algorithms with notebooks, with models, whatever you would want to do. And we call them virtual labs. The blue cloud looks like this. This is the platform. So on the left, you see a lot of the research infrastructures. They provide data. Then on the middle, you have this virtual research environment. And on the right, you see several virtual laboratories and also what we call workbenches for essential ocean variables, which are being developed using all these facilities. And these are really things on these workbenches and virtual labs, things that we couldn't do, let's say 10 years ago. It was really impossible to do something like this. And now it allows you to do multidisciplinary research and really get much more knowledge out of the data that we all collect. Now, this is an overview of those virtual labs. I don't want to go in detail, but it's just give you a fast glance what it's about. It's quite multidisciplinary. Also, genomics are involved. And then we have these workbenches, and these workbenches, they are aiming at one for physics, let's say temperature salinity, another one for eutrophication, and another one for plankton biomass and diversity. And to do this, we brought together a lot of really experts in these domains. And also we brought together data from all these different resources that you see on the right. And we had to develop a system by which we are able to combine these data sets in data lakes, which would then make it easier to feed them into those algorithms and using the computing power. And for that reason, we developed a new technology. We call it Beacon. And Beacon is a data lake technology that allows you to, in fact, to bring together millions of data sets. You index them one time. That takes a while. But after that, you can really find what you want by slicing the data. And then you get one netCDF file that contains all those data values, which are your interest. So I give you an example. We take, let's say, temperature or CTD profiles. We put a couple of million in this beacon, and then we say, give me the, let's say, the data sets or the temperature, sorry, at the depth of, let's say, 50 meters. And then within a few seconds, the system slices through all these files and gives you one netCDF and also a visualization in a notebook, which contains the values at 50 meters for all these data sets. And that's really quite an eye-opener for a lot of researchers, because normally they collect all these data sets, so they discover and access all these data sets, and then they have to do all this work themselves, trying to get it organized. Well, in this case, everything is already smoothly by this technology. Now, as part of Blue Cloud, we set up several of these beacon data lakes for different resources, so for EuroArgo, for Copernicus Marine, for EMBRC Chemistry, for SeaDataNet, also for the World Ocean Database. And also we worked on how to merge them, which is difficult because they all have their own metadata, and therefore we worked a lot on semantics, let's say, to do a harmonization of semantics for a so-called core metadata profile. And that if you talk now to the people who are working on those workbenches, they really make very good progress in this sense. And they are able to combine different major repositories, let's say, in a common access. Here you see something more about this beacon. It has so here you see something about performance. You see we're talking about seconds, and we talk also about millions and millions of data sets. And that allows you, let's say, within a few seconds, 10 seconds, to create a picture like this. And then in fact, you can then walk through the data, and every time you get a refresh of that image. Also, we made a strategic roadmap for Blue Cloud, and that's to 2030. Right now, we are working on 2035. But one of the things that came out is, of course, that we have to work. We worked already in the European Open Science Cloud, but we should also work closer with the Digital Twin of the Ocean program, which is, let's say, a new major program by the Commission since a few years. And that has a very high level, also, let's say, political level, because the politicians, Ursula von der Leyen, others are presenting, in fact, giving presentations about this. While, of course, it's still in the building, but for them it's already there. And that's interesting, but it gives a lot in opportunities, of course, for new projects. And the digital twins, there is a program in Europe, EDITO. They are developing the background infrastructure for this. But as Blue Cloud, we also worked on this, and as Blue Cloud, as part of the building the EOS Federation, the European Open Science Cloud Federation, we applied with Blue Cloud to become one of the EOS nodes in that new ecosystem of nodes. And that was positive. And this was followed up by a call from the EU program very recently, and also we won that call. And that means in fact that Blue Cloud is now being transformed. Also, the name will be phased out, and we will start in the summer with the new project, and that's in fact towards the EOS node, digital twin of the ocean. And this platform, this virtual research environment with all the facilities, let's say, will be has major stakeholders. In fact, we have several DGs, so we have DG Mare, DG RTD, DG Davis, they're all behind it. But also we have on board the major partners in Copernicus Marine and in EMBRC and SeaDataNet. And this way, let's say, we are working together on another platform, which is in fact an extension of EDITO, but then towards the European Open Science Cloud. And that's that's where we are working now. And that means in fact that we have done EU resources for cloud computing, but we also bring in a lot of academic resources from nations, which are part of the Blue Cloud developments. And that this way, the foundation under this virtual research and the digital twin ocean becomes much larger than it should be only with EDITO. Now, some conclusions, and also I will make a link, of course, to IRISCC. First of all, SeaDataNet, we develop and we maintain standards, and they're widely adopted, and they provide fair metadata and data. We have a large network of data centers, and they have direct contacts with hundreds of in situ data collectors, and they help them to validate and to store and make available their data sets in a common way. And also, those data collections, they are then being used for many derived products, and that's done, for instance, in EMBRC and Copernicus, but of course also done by other researchers and other applicants. We also have a legal entity, the ASBL, and that gives a strong foundation for the mission and the sustainability on the longer term. And also, SeaData is a major building block in this European marine data management landscape, while it supports EMBRC, CMEMS, EOSC, and DTO. And that's a little bit the story of SeaDataNet. Let's say it started as a group of data centers that said, let's do something European, literally. And over time, we were able every time to step on a new wave in Europe, like EMBRC, like Copernicus, like EDITO and EOSC. And this way we expand, in fact, the network, make it stronger, and also it penetrates deeper and goes higher into the knowledge chain. And that's the way, that's the business plan, in fact, behind SeaDataNet. Now, if you look at the relation with IRISCC, there are two ways. One is that the services are all open, of course, for the data, so they can be found in the catalog of IRISCC. On the other side, also, we talked about Demo 4, and Demo 4 is one of 6 in IRISCC, which are being developed as part of Work Package 4, together with Work Package 6. And in fact, the platform, the virtual research environment that's being provided to those demos is the Blue Cloud platform. And that's the link, let's say, that's the link between the two projects, I would say, SeaDataNet or the SeaDataNet RI and the IRISCC work. So a lot of that I've been telling, for those who are involved in the demos, they will get to know better the virtual research environment and the various data resources which are available there. And of course, we will coach them and help them, so give them a lot of support. And in the end, of course, we hope that they really continue then, let's say, and using this environment and also invite others to join that, because it's quite an open door philosophy. Let's say there's a lot of resources, and these resources should be used, and we are very interested in parties that want to let's say, who want to tango on the Blue Cloud theory, or in the future the EOS node, digital twin of the ocean. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dick, for that comprehensive introduction to SeaDataNet and all its data management landscape. We do have a few minutes yet. I just want to thank the speakers again and all the participants who attended the webinar. Reminder that you can, in the chat or in the website, register yourself for the next webinars. And once again, go and have a look to the catalog of services and take advantage of our third call. We're waiting for your proposals. We are going to stop the record here. Now we are going to move to the questions.